They've got a great scheme for him. I mean, they're in a lot of ways they're out there playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers, And so they put him in a great scheme that I think you would have seen these numbers last year if he hadn't gotten hurt. Just like you go to Texas Tech, just like you put somebody in that scheme, it's going to score. Now, when you put the whole package together, then you find out what the final outcome is going to be, because we got to win this thing with offense, with defense, and kicking game. But I think he's adaptable to an offense that their head coach and their staff does very, very well at running, a very fast-paced, up tempo. I call it a vertical passing, a vertical movement passing game, hitting people moving toward the goal line, as opposed to hitting a bunch of people just standing still. And they do a great job of coaching it, and it will be interesting how it comes out.
The exception of Ohio.
We only play. I mean, other than I you can't put any more emphasis than we put. Every one of them, Georgia, believe it or not, Ohio, we didn't score a touchdown, 4 field goals, and that game was critical. I mean, in our minds of what we want to do, play our best. You got to be careful when you start telling kids, you better win or else. This one better be the one. And all you do is play people uptight. I try to get our guys, play your best, have fun, play your best. Let's go out there and work hard in practice, prepare the game plan, and then play your best and have a good time. I wish I could tell you what a lot difference in the attitude going into Eastern Michigan as it was into Ohio or Lafayette. Some of these teams you just got to go out there and just play your game. Don't worry about things you can't control. Play your game the best you can play, and see how that goes. It's like there's nothing less important in life than the score at halftime, and we're kind of at halftime. And in our season, and all we're trying to do is, we really made some commitment to do some things a bunch differently on offense, just a lot, taking some different. Kyle Pohl's ready. I mean, he's a returning 2-year starter, and he's a backup right now, and so we're making some decisions, and we've gotten better offense. We've gotten better at doing what we're trying to do. Now, can we get better next week and better next week and better next week? That's what our goal is. And I do believe that for us or Bowling Green or anybody else in this conference, most of the decisions will be made in November. Most of the decisions about who's going where can't be asked to be determined on Saturday. We can eliminate your chances a little bit this point in the season, but I think it's got to be played out. So I can't. Every one of them. I mean, if you got a team that you're favored over, you say, well, I better get that one because that's one I got to have. Or if you have a team that you're underdog, and I'm not saying which one is, you're saying, well, boy, if I could just get that one, So every one of them, I think every game becomes significant and important to you, and I do believe you get used to taking them one at a time and going from there. Kyle Ritz did good. I mean, Kyle Ritz is very smart. He's an engineering student, smart. He's still just learning how to do the things that we need to do. So he might not have the experience of how to react and adjust on the fly. But he is very smart, and he's a tough guy. He's a nasty guy. He's got a little tough personality. Nasty may be a dangerous word, but he has some toughness to him, and I like that. So he did solid. I mean, he has to he'll make mistakes, but at least he does it full speed, and he's a quick learner. Really, and again, you talking about a raw talent, and thank goodness my brother's just because Jeff's coached wide receivers for 30 years. I mean, from Anquan Bowden to Lavernius Cole to great NFL guys he's worked with, and so and Jerome he comes in basically, other than having great skills, doesn't know how to step and to line up and put which foot forward and which foot here, and so each week he gets a little better at those things that he's not thinking about. Just like I thought he just did such a great job of high-pointing balls in that game, just catching. Whereas a couple of weeks ago, he was dropping. He dropped quite a few, he's thinking too much. And so each week, if he'll continue to work hard, each week he gets better. Because at 6'4", 225, even if he's covered, it's a mismatch usually physically, because usually a guy that's athletic, he's physical mismatch. You can't push him around and you can't jump up against his body and make his body push out of the way. But there are also a lot of corners in this league that are much more experienced at what they do than he does. So again, he's a part. I would think there'll be a safety over top of him a lot. Now our other guys have to do a good job, because I would imagine to avoid having to put a corner one-on-one, you have another guy over top, and that moves a guy over toward that side. So you think that may happen some, but again, he's one of those things that has to continue to improve. Just like Tommy Woodson, Kyle Ritz, and some of these other guys, we have to continue to get better and better. Well, it's funny because I got a call from somebody, and Kathy didn't tell you about this, about 10 o'clock last night, 9:30, because I go to bed pretty early. I was already almost asleep. Just give me 5 minutes to talk about Steve Spurrier because you coached against him in the 90s when he was probably at his best. And so I just texted back, call me at 4. If you want to start, I'll be up at 4 in the morning. If you want to talk to me at 4. And he called me at 4:15. Now, whatever he was with, we talked for 30 minutes about the Coach Spurrier. And because there's this assumption that him and my dad had this adversarial relationship between Florida State and Florida, that they were always at each other's throat, and that how did all those things. And I hate for people to ask me questions. They ought to be calling that man down in Tallahassee and asking him. Right. But we talked about Steve, and I just have a lot of respect for him because he's a football coach. He knows how to coach football, and I watched him on the sideline when he called every play. When he was in the SEC and everybody wanted to run smash mouth football, and he didn't care what they said. He just threw it over their heads for about 6 or 7 SEC championships and did his own thing. And before all these other throwing guys came around, he was out there doing it a different way. And the old ball coach, I respect that because he called his own stuff. He did his own thing, and then as long as he could, and then it's funny because I was at the Mid-American Conference meetings in May last year out at Phoenix, Arizona, and at the final night we were sitting around tables. His wife and I, we sat around for a couple hours just talking about old times. We've been pretty good friends all of our lives, and had a great visit with him. And so you hate to see him go. He's one of the personalities that we have. Everybody's younger now and can call plays about as fast as you can call them. He had a personality that was, to the SEC, he irritated more people than you could imagine, including my dad. I mean, my dad had a few, but Ray Goff and Phil Fulmer and Mark Richt and all those guys. But I always figured he'd just go whenever he figured it was time to go. He'd go. And but anyway, he was a great personality for the game, and he's been a good for the game. His wife's a wonderful person. He's got a great family, and he'll probably miss them now playing golf all the time. Yeah. Well, he used to irritate the SEC coaches because it's a blue collar, bring your lunch pail to the business type of mentality. If you better pretend you do it if you don't do it. He never pretended. He said, "No, I'm gonna try to play a little golf. I'm gonna try to enjoy what I do," and he would just blow people away. He won it year after year after year. We beat him a couple of times, and he beat me. Bob Stoops was on his staff at the end, and he had when he won his championship. And now I think my dad was 7-4 again. Florida State was at their peak too, so that was always the bitter rivalry, was Florida State and Florida. But anyway, it was it'll be we'll miss Steve Spurrier.